President Kiir is expected to meet the rebel leader Riek Machar in Addis Ababa. Government and Yao Yao groups signed a final peace deal in Addis Ababa. And government rejects Amnesty International reports on human rights violation accusing rebels for the atrocities. Welcome to South Sudan Television News. My name is Rejoice Teo Samson. Those were the headlines, and now the full text of the news. The National Council of Ministers, in its extraordinary meeting on Thursday, chaired by President Salva Kiir Mayardit, discussed preparation of the budget for the fiscal year 2014-2015. The memo on budget was presented to the Council by the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Agri Tisa Sabuni. In a statement to the press after the meeting, the acting official government spokesperson and the Deputy Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Rachel Nyadak-Paul, said the Council recommends for the improvement of revenue collection by the Ministry of Finance. It was also recommended that the budget of this year cover in full the government's salary allowances, operating, and the cost of the running of the ministries.
In its extraordinary meeting on Thursday, the 8th May 2014, has only one agenda, and the confirmation and adoption of the last resolution. So the first thing that were done was the confirmation and adoption of the last resolution of the Council of Ministers. The second was the preparation of the budget of fiscal year 2014-2015. We discussed about the preparation of the budget for this year. Within the deliberation, we agree on the following. One, the improvement of revenue collection by the Ministry of Finance by sourcing loans from other investors or other countries who are willing to come and invest with us here in South Sudan.
President of the Republic, General Salva Kiir Mayardit, is expected to meet with the rebel leader Riek Machar in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa. If the meeting does take place, this could be seen as a positive step towards finding solution to the ongoing crisis in the country. Vice President James Waniga met in Juba on Friday with the governor of Eastern Equatoria State, Louis Lobong Lojori. Governor Lobong briefed the VP on the security situation in his state. He said the IDPs who fled conflict from Greater Upper Nile are living in peace with the communities of Eastern Equatoria State.
The Vice President James Waniga met in his office with the governor of Eastern Equatoria State, Louis Lobong Lojori. Lobong briefed James Waniga on the security situation in the state. He said the internally displaced persons from Greater Upper Nile State are living in peace with the communities of Eastern Equatoria.
On the general security situations in the states of Eastern Equatoria, and also to clarify some of the rumors that have been going on created by some enemies of peace. Most of the time people call in Juba that there's a problem in Eastern Equatoria, there's fighting in Eastern Equatoria, there is rebellion in Eastern Equatoria. I told him that the people of Eastern Equatoria are peace-loving people, and they're living in peace with all other ethnic groups from other states, in particular the states that have been affected by the war. That is Jongole, Upper Nile, and Bentiu. Most of these people who have decided to live in South Sudan, they are there, except those who have crossed the country. Those who are crossing, we also provide security for them by passage to go. But those who remain or different ethnic groups that are staying in peace.
Vice President James Wani Iga received in his office a delegation from Nyorja Boma of Lobanok Payam, Juba County, led by a community leader, Salva Nyorso. Salva Nyorso said the community of Nyorja is ready to implement the government policy to fight against poverty in the country.
فعلا جي سياسة بتاعكما بيقولوا يعني لازم ناس يأكل مما نزرع. نحن إنما دايرين أكل تاني مرة يجينا من يوغندا ولا من أي محل. إنا دايرين نزرع برانا. يلا مشاكل بتاع ناس اللي بيلخبطوا الناس يأكلوا يوقفوا الناس من الشغل.
As it is a busy day to the Vice President James Wani Iga,
Ria Lubega ma sebayan bi kursi bita number 2 ma khalas kaliwa yikun indu sabr akil وزي سلطة انت ما بقدر استنى اكل بركبه في تاغو مره اكل ده طلع 200 انت قاعد لا امسكني بقى في كرسي لا خليه يجي
The representative of Padang communities of Upper Nile State is calling for the government of South Sudan to provide humanitarian assistance to the internally displaced persons in the 5 counties of Reng, Melut, Akoka, Baliat, and Puji. This came in the meeting of the Vice President James Wani Iga and the representative of Padang communities of Upper Nile State, led by the paramount chief of Akoka, Gok Ajak. Wani Iga called for the people of South Sudan, particularly the people of Upper Nile State, to rally behind an elected government under the leadership of President General Salva Kiir Mayardit.
Sulta indure Salva de مو ماسيو بيجوا انتم يا انتخبوا جنود كل يا انتخبوا لو بقى ده كل سدا كلوا يستنى انتخابات ثاني ويوري نفسه بيطول للناس ايوه كان ناس يكتروا اهل مسال كان ابوه كمان كلوا واقف في بحر زي الناس كانوا ياكل
Speaking to SSTV, Member of Parliament from Council of States Joshua Dow said Upper Nile State was affected by the ongoing crisis in the country. He said the people affected are mainly children, women, and elders.
They came is to request for relief services. All their properties have been looted. Their dura and their food stuff taken and forced their people to be in very bad, hungry situation. So they have come to request relief services to be taken to their people in Malud area, Paloch, Rang, and Akoko. This is an important message they have come to express to the government that the relief should be delivered to them. So the people have come to thank the government for all the work they have done to rescue the situation in their localities.
The rebel forces loyal to Riek Machar 10 destroyed and killed many people in Greater Upper Nile State. The representative of Padang communities of Upper Nile State is expecting face-to-face between General Salva Kiir Mayardit and rebel leader Riek Machar 10 to be successful for the future of this country, which is 2 years old of independence. The government of South Sudan is committed for peace despite the challenges facing the country. For SSTV News, this is Henry Jarajo reporting in Juba.
The government has rejected Amnesty International report which blamed the government together with the Riek Machar rebel group, describing it as a mere attempt to tarnish the image of democratically elected government. Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Barnaba Marial Benjamin made this remark in an interview with the South Sudan television in Juba on Friday. Benjamin says the blame should be directed to Riek Machar rebel group, who he said were involved in heinous atrocities including rape and killing of civilians across the country. Garang John reports.
Few months after Riek Machar rebellion in South Sudan, which triggers massive killing and destruction across the country, Human Rights Watch is up hunting for the perpetrators of human rights abuse in the region. Amnesty International released a report implicating both the government and Riek Machar rebel group for committing human rights abuses in the region. A claim the government of South Sudan rejects, accusing Riek Machar rebel group for widespread rape and killing of innocent civilians, mainly in Jonglei, Unity and Upper Nile states respectively. Speaking to SSTV in Juba on Friday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Barnaba Marial Benjamin, described the report as a negative attempt to undermine the democratically elected government, pointing fingers on the rebels for the atrocities committed in the country.
The government of the Republic of South Sudan does not deny that there has been some abuses of human rights, some of them heinous massacres, like what happened in Bantu. But the perpetrators of those are known. These were the rebels. When they entered Bantu, they carried out massacres which targeted people in the mosques, in the churches, and in the hospital, which was indiscriminate killing of individuals. The Amnesty International must be very clear about this, that the government of the Republic of South Sudan is a democratically elected government by the people of the Republic of South Sudan, 93% of our population. And the constitutional mandate of this government is to protect the citizens of this country. There is no way where an elected government can turn its army, the army of the people, on its people.
Dr. Benjamin says the government of South Sudan respects the rights of its citizens and constitution, adding that a committee of inquiry was formed to investigate human rights abuses in the new nation following Riek Machar rebellion, to ensure justice is delivered over the incident.
So yes, while the heinous human rights abuses were committed, not by the government, but there are cases in the government control areas, isolated cases, where human rights have been abused. And the government has reacted very strongly by forming a high-level committee to investigate these cases, in fact, led by the former Chief Justice of this country. Secondly, there is the high-level Human Rights Commission formed by the African Union, led by the former President of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. This committee visited South Sudan, and its sole duty is to investigate all these cases of human rights abuses. I think the Amnesty International has circumvented, in fact, it should have allowed the investigations to be carried out, rather than putting a blanket, even implicating the government. A government that has already formed a commission in order to investigate and hold accountable those individuals who have abused the human rights. But they should come out clearly that it is the rebels who committed heinous crimes. We have seen it in Bantu, we have seen it in Balakal when they entered Malakal, we have seen it in Bor when they entered Bor. There is no question about that. The cases which happen in government control areas like here in Juba, which is regrettable, and we condemned it, and the government is serious about it. The incident of some of the youth in government control areas in Bor that tried to attack the civilians in army camps, the government has condemned it, especially the personality of the president himself has come out to condemn this. So we would have advised, would have been diplomatic decency for Amnesty International to give time for proper investigations to be carried out on both sides. Give the government the chance to investigate, give African Union and IGAD countries to investigate, give the United Nations to investigate, but for them to come out with a report greatly filled up with a lot of rumors added into it, it does not give its credibility at all.
Thousands of civilians were killed in cold blood in Jonglei, Unity and Upper Nile states after Riek Machar forces of insurgents launched various attacks in some parts of the country while attempting to overthrow the government. This is the second time Dr. Riek Machar took up arms against the people of South Sudan. after the 1991 massacre in which thousands of civilians, mostly women and children, were massacred in cold blood and women were raped. However, the international community remains silent over the matter, and the 1991 massacre became history. Garang John, reporting for South Sudan Television in Juba.
The government and South Sudan Cobra faction of David Yaw have signed a final peace agreement in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa on Friday. The signing of this deal marks the end to the conflict in Pibor County. The group has been in Addis Ababa for the last 2 weeks to finalize the drafted agreement that was initiated 4 weeks ago. The chief mediator of the Jongole peace talks, Bishop Paride Taban, called on the parties to express genuineness and spirit of openness in the peace deal.
Observers and friends of this process, and especially also our members of the press. Peace be with you. This is the greeting of our Lord Jesus Christ, who always greet people in peace. Peace, if we want to have peace, true peace, then we must give it soul, and the soul of peace is love.
Maden makaron kaga nyeit kanam ane gon kanam ne jo kaje gongis mal gongis tikan to nen redine.
Love must be something personal and not social.
Redine abonin kijeto don.
The National Legislative Assembly Specialized Business Committee, in its weekly meeting under the chairmanship of the Speaker, Right Honorable Manas Magok Rondial, discussed the memo presented by the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Agritisa Sabuni, on the preparation for the fiscal year 2014-2015 budget. The meeting also discussed the agenda for convening the new session of the Parliament next week. And the National Minister of Interior, Aleu Ayeni Aleu, returned to Juba after a tour to Western Baharagazal State, where he reviewed with the state parliamentarians, SPLA and police officers, respectively, security status in the state. Aleu called on the communities there to unite their ranks and promote peace and reconciliation.
دخلت في رئاسة، لو بقيت رئاسة شلته انت او انت بقي رئيس لازم تحترم نفسك. سويت له.
Police service, strategy, wildlife conservation, retail.
enough. We have قتلنا بعض. الناس اللي ماتوا في اللخبطه ده اكثر من الجلاد قتلوا في شكل ثاني بتاعهم 20 سنه. فهمتوا الكلام ده؟ الناس اللي ماتوا في شكل ثاني بتاع 4 شهور ده اكثر من الناس اللي ماتوا زمن بتاع الحرب. كفايه. وما هيجيب الا هو لو بس انت نمسك يد النظر. الكلام ده واضح يا جماعه. بالكلام كثير ده never unite. أنا ما داير أطور في الكلام لكن
The ruling party SPLM says it is sending trainers to all the states to train party members on registration and mobilization. The plan was announced by the party's Secretary for Political Affairs, Antipas Nyok, during a one-day workshop held in Juba. Antipas urged the party members to prepare themselves for the workshop to be conducted in 7 states.
The SPLM teams that we have organized to send to 7 states of Greater Bahar Ghazal and Greater Equatoria. The purpose of this training workshop is to train our cadres to go and start launching the membership registration process in each of the 7 states that we have enumerated to go to. We have already developed registration materials. It is actually an improvement on the past registration system that we used to have. Like this one, this time around, we are having what we call SPLM management form. SPLM management form will be a form that will be existing in each and every level of the SPLM secretariat, starting from the Boma level all the way up to the national level. In that SPLM management form, each and every member of the SPLM, if he or she has performed and done something good for the party at that level, then it will be registered in this.
And moving on to Jonglei State, where the caretaker governor John Kong Nyon on Thursday chaired a meeting of the State Council of Ministers and presented a handbook on performance to the newly appointed ministers and commissioners in the state. Tex Stephen has more on the story.
The newly formed cabinet of Jonglei State government, convened under the chairmanship of the caretaker governor, John Kong, in its first meeting in the State's Council of Ministers, Secretariat General, to introduce and present a handbook. The handbook manual contains rules and regulations which guides and govern conducts of ministers, commissioners and other top government officials in performing their duties. The caretaker governor, John Kong, said the handbook will allow the cabinet to understand their roles and assist them in running their new offices.
Here to mention a very important point, which is the movement of the ministers. It's very important that you must know as a minister, you don't need to travel unnecessarily long way, whether going to Juba or anywhere, unless you are on official mission.
حتى بتاع التعاون مهم جدا لما الناس يتعاونوا معنا نقدر نعمله فلو عندنا التعاون مع بعض كالوزراء كحكومة بتاع الجمهورية بنقدر نحقق الطموحات بتاعت الشعب ونقدر نوفر حسب الإمكانيات اللي عندنا.
While the newly appointed Minister of Information, Judy Jongule, added that it's important for the cabinet to cooperate with each other to facilitate a faster and easy delivery of services to the citizens.
Today we have a very important session that concerning the introduction and presentation about the handbook, which is a very important document to the Council of Ministers. At the same time, it's like conduct of business in the Assembly. That it's a kind of awareness that how can we operate in the Council of Ministers and the ministers. And also that it was indicated the protocol of the Council of Ministers and another institution. This is very important for us.
In a separate development, the UNMISS South Korea contingent have donated a generator to Bor Hospital to improve the running of hospital power supply. The handover ceremony was attended by the State Minister of Health, Dr. Angok Gordin Kwol.
South Sudan contingency has donated and has shown commitment to helping people of this state so many times, and we sincerely appreciated that.
For SSTV, Tech Stephen reporting.
And the Commissioner of Juba County, Stephen Wani Michael, assures government commitment to ensure education services is availed to the people of the state. Commissioner Wani made the assurance during a visit to Rokon Payam to inspect the construction of Rokon Complex Secondary School along Juba-Mondri Road. The construction work that will be completed in 6 months' time is carried out by SLM and Family Enterprise.
The Commissioner of Juba County, Stephen Wani Michael, inspected the ongoing construction work of Rokon Complex Secondary School along Juba-Mondri Road by SLM and Family Enterprise. The project, undertaken by the local companies and initiated by the state government, is aimed at building modern schools across the state to improve education sector in the state. Speaking to the media, Commissioner Wani appeals to the national government to support and encourage national companies to come and invest in the country.
Weeks undergoing construction by local companies in Central Equatorial State, and this is one of the big projects of the Central Equatorial State government. Weeks initiated in order to construct secondary schools and primary schools all over the state in 6 counties. It is our responsibility that we put foundation in the right way for our generation to come.
The company's general manager, John Moro Michael, says the project was signed in July 2013 between the state government and the company. John Moro pointed out that the construction of the school will be completed in 6 months' time.
It was signed last year, July. This project was signed in presence of the Minister of Fiscal Infrastructure, Minister of Education, and Minister of Finance, and then represented by the legal to hurry up because it's going to rain season. Like we were coming.
He applauded the state government, county authority, and the community of the area for their continuous support to the project. Paul Machar, SSTV News.
And now to Eastern Equatoria State Capital, Torit, where the mayor has launched internal public transport, which will help facilitate movements within the town. The mayor of Torit municipality says the launch of public transport in the town is to ease the movement of the locals and will also reduce the time they have been taking to reach their destinations. SSTV's Alejandro Lotog was at the launch and samples his experience.
It is a new opportunity here. The mayor of the town of Torit has come with a new issue, and this is the people of Torit will now have public transport, and this is to avoid the issue of people footing from distance to distance. This launching of this public transport is important because it is going to ease transportation within the town of Torit. This is part of government commitment to take services to the population who have been footing long distances.
ثانيا ما قادر يقوم بانه يعمل تطوير التوسيط مدينه بانه يعمل مواصلات واننا مقصودين سريع لانه مواصلات عشان بيساعد المواطن التعبان عشان بقدر يوصله في مكانه من كان مواطن تعبان بيركب شنو بيركب بودا وبودا ذاته بقى متعب بالنسبه للمواطن وإننا مبسوطين شديد كويس.
دي حاجه نحن دايرينها بنيه واحد، نحن شايفين المواطن حقنا ذاته تعبان بيرفع خطر من اخر الوطن هناك جابوا لحد في سوقني بدون بكران، شايفين انه حاجه صعب. لكن الحمد لله حتى ما ترى حكومتنا يكون فكرت انه يعمل لنا محطه داخليه عشان نحن نحاول نشتغل. كان احنا سواقين نحن مبسوطين شديد خالص، نحن حنقوم باكمل وجه ان شاء الله. نحن نحاول نخدم شنو؟ نخدم المواطن حقنا عشان ما يكون شنو؟ ما يكون تعبان بدوريه بتاعت الارجل. طبعا البلد بقى اساسا ماشي تطور. الحضاره وين اساسا؟ هي الحضاره لما يكون شنو البلد فوقه مواصلات داخليه، مواصلات الجونجلو ناس، هي اساسا هي هو الحضاره اساسا. وبلد
جمهور مدينه توريد كله بنقوله يعني لتسهيل حركه المواطن داخل المدينه. يعني اتفقنا مع اخوانا في اتحاد نقابات عمال الولايه ونقابه السائقين العربات الداخليه انه لابد لوفير مواصلات لتسهيل حركه المرور المواطن، لانه كل المسافات بعيده عشان المواطن يقدر يوصل في مكانه في اسرع وقت ممكن. باصات بيمشي لحد في قنبو، الناس اللي بيجيبوا خضروات من خارج المدينه طوالي يمسكوا الباص، يركب الباصات طوالي يمشي السوق الجديد، ما ينزل في السوق القديم، يمشي طوالي السوق الجديد.
Detail of the news, and coming up is the recap of the major stories. President Kiir is expected to meet the rebel leader Riek Machar in Addis Ababa. And government and Yahya group signed a final peace deal in Addis Ababa. And government rejects Amnesty International reports on human rights violation, accusing rebels for the atrocities. That brings us to the end of the news, and thanks for joining us, and bye for now.